But welcome, welcome. Hope you are having a great start to your week. We are continuing our springtime sales success series with this week talking about how to make every single party the best that it can be. We're kind of building. If you notice, the last couple of weeks, we've kind of been going almost in kind of a chronological order of how to kind of build the foundation for getting in that party routine, for getting that time management control, which of course is the foundation of Party Plan Divas. It's not just how to build your business, but it's how to build your business without losing your mind, where you don't lose track of your time and feel like you're working 24 hours a day. So we're kind of building. We talked about how to market. We talked about how the number one, thing to do in this business is to let people know that you are out there. If you are not booked as solidly as you want to be, it means that not enough people know that you do what you do. So we talked a couple weeks ago about how to let them know in a way that isn't pushy and isn't salesy, and that we don't want to feel like that. We don't want to feel like we're badgering anybody, or and we got to get out of the warm market too. That warm market. What happens, I think, a lot of times is that either we exhaust ourselves in our warm market and drive everybody crazy, or our warm market suddenly gets really cold. And we start to feel, kind of lonely. People started avoiding. So we talked about how to get out of that. Then last week we talked about booking parties from parties, as well as booking parties from scratch. And parties are the lifeline of the business, whether you're doing them in person, or you're doing them online, something like this through Click Meeting or Skype or Zoom or whatever it may be, Facebook, yada yada. That's kind of the lifeline. It's when people come together to learn more about you, more about your products, how they can get involved, and what all it is that you have to offer. And that kind of just leads right into today's training topic, because we're talking about how to make every single party the best that it can be. My average party average was about $875 in sales, which meant every time I walked out of the house, I was coming home with $300 or $400. If you every time you leave the house, you're coming home $300 or $400 richer, it makes it a lot easier to walk out of the house. But it wasn't that I had a product that nobody else had, or it wasn't that I just got lucky or anything like that. I mean, there were tons of consultants in this area. I had recruited most of them, so I knew it. We had tons of parties going on. And in fact, there were products that were comparable for sale in our city in just a normal store. But yet our party sales were super, super high. And, there's some things that we did to ensure that happened. Ultimately, every single party that you do, you want to come home with money in your pocket. You want to come home with more bookings so that you get to go do it again. And a bonus is to have people that you can train to do the exact same thing. So again, party, that is the lifeline. Yes, you will have outside sales. Yes, customer care, we're going to talk about in a couple weeks, which is also super duper important also. You'll have online orders, we never put all of our eggs in one basket, right? So we have all these different moving parts that are happening to the business, but the parties are the lifeline, okay? And that's why we call it the party plan industry. I am Party Plan Divas. Like the party is where the real magic happens. So I want to talk today about how to make every party the best that it can be. 80% of the party happens before you ever walk through the door. 80% of the success of the party happens before you ever walk through the front door. And that is because the work that you do with your hostess and getting people excited about your party, it's getting people in the seats, getting people in that living room, in that office, in front of the computer if you're doing an online party, whatever it may be. Because that's, half the battle, right? Is getting people there. Not only just getting people there, because we don't want them there out of obligation. We want them there because they're excited, because they want to be there, because they're ready to shop, because they want to support their friend, because they want to learn more about you, your product, what you have to offer, and all that kind of stuff. So hostess coaching is huge. But this is one of the things that I think a lot of people kind of fall back on. Oh goodness, my phone's ringing. Sorry, guys. So this is one of those things that I think people don't put enough effort into, because sometimes it's difficult. A lot of times when it's hostess coaching, it's, if you don't have a plan, you're like, hey, we having a party next weekend? They're like, yep. I'm like, okay, great, bye, see you then. There's no plan to it, no structure. So what I did, and all the tools are available on Party Plan Divas in your membership, is I created a structure, a plan. Again, time management being the focus, but how to hostess coach in a way that keeps you excited, keeps your hostess excited, and it's going to get people there. So let's start with the first thing, which is a great hostess packet. Now, if you are doing an online party, I still suggest that you send a hostess packet. You just pay a couple bucks and put it in the mail, because even though the party is online, everything that you do that has to do with the party, especially with your hostess, is lining up for the opportunity for a recruiting interview, because your number one recruiting prospect is your hostess, first and foremost. So you want to really buddy up with him or her, because again, that could be somebody who is willing to do everything that a hostess does. Remember last week we talked about how sometimes we take for granted how much work our hostesses really do for us, or hosts really do for us. And so when you've got somebody who is, willing to clean the house and, get rid of the kids if you need to, and cook and, all that kind of stuff, and have somebody in their living room, or is willing to, to coordinate and do everything online, then, we want to take good care of these people. They are, again, who keeps our business going. So we want to spoil them. But if they're willing to do all that, then they may be interested enough in the business to think, maybe this is something that I can do. They obviously love you. They obviously love your products, and they want to share it, which of course, that's the number one thing about recruiting, right? Is having a love for the products and wanting to share it. They want to share it with their friends. Why not let them make money doing it? So anyway, so let's talk about the hostess packet. So the first thing that you want to have in there is a hostess letter. Now we've got several of these in the template library under every single category. This is going to be a personal letter from you. Okay, so this is not, I have a structure up there to kind of give you an idea, but this is a personal letter from you. Thank you for having a party with me. I'm so excited to share my love of my products to you and your friends, all that kind of stuff. It'll have some of your policies in there. If you have shipping information or delivery information or anything like that, you can throw that in there. But the hostess letter is really just a note from you. It doesn't have to be long. It should never be longer than just one front of a page. I got one that was 4 pages long one time. You want to talk about overwhelming. I was like, oh my gosh, this is, I don't even know how to do this. So you want it to stay 1 page, super friendly, super upbeat letter from you. Second thing is the hostess program. Let them know right away what they're going to earn for free. Yes, they're going to have a good time with their friends. Yes, you're going to have some stuff, but what are they going to earn? Like, what is the nitty gritty? What can they really earn? Get them excited about that. We're going to be talking about that in the call for how to keep them excited, because that's ultimately going to help with those sales. Third thing is a wish list. This does not have to be elaborate at all. You can put lines on a page. Pretty says wish list. We've got these again in the template library, but that's a real important part of this. We'll talk about that in our hostess coaching calls. The next thing is a cancellation policy. So this is completely optional. I mean, all this stuff is completely optional, but here's what I want you to think, and I always get a little bit of heat when I talk about the cancellation policy. I put a cancellation policy into my hostess packets because I didn't want people canceling. There's nothing more frustrating than holding a Friday or Saturday night for somebody, especially when you have a waiting list, which I had, and then somebody just decides, for whatever reason that they need to cancel. So here's how I had the cancellation policy. I had it in my hostess packet, and it said, due to something about the waiting list. I've gone blank now, but it's due to people waiting for, an earlier date, or due to the demand in the area, we've got to wait, some people waiting 4 to 6 weeks to have a party. If for any reason you cannot hold your party on the date and you don't give a proper 2-week notice, then a $45 cancellation fee will apply. Here's the thing. I never wanted to charge it. Like, it had nothing to do with actually wanting to charge the fee or be, difficult and be like, you have to have your party. It wasn't anything like that. Here's what it did. Hey, David, welcome. Here's what the cancellation policy did. It made people realize, like, oh, so this is a party for me, but it's a business for her. And it just kind of, I have the exact same notice in my doctor's office, the exact same notice in my nail technician's office. And I asked for 2 weeks notice because that's plenty of time for me to rebook the date. So what happens is if somebody calls, 3 days beforehand, they're like, oh my gosh, I have an emergency, I cannot have the party, then I can be the great consultant who says, no problem, listen, don't worry about it. I will waive the fee, and we can schedule you for another time. I totally understand. The thing is, that gives me great customer service, right? Because I've said, don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. This is great customer service. And you know, it's not even a thing. You know, my doctor does it too. Sometimes I can't be there. They're like, listen, don't worry about it. And I feel great. So I'm like, oh, thank you. But when you have people who are going to cancel, like you can either be the friend or whatever, or they give you plenty of time and you get to rebook it so that you don't lose the date. So again, cancellation policy, totally optional. If you don't feel good putting it in there, don't. It worked great for me. I never had anybody get upset about it. And I actually did once send somebody a bill. She was a little bit of a difficult person to put up with. We all have those hostesses from time to time. And she actually just pulled a no, completely no, nothing, went off the grid, yada, yada. I sent a bill and she sent me a check for 45 bucks. So, you know, it works either way. She was the only person I ever sent a bill to, and it was just kind of on a whim thing. But anyway, next thing is a guest list. So I have people that say, you know, oh, I'm just going to invite via Facebook and stuff like that. Divas, I'm going to just really, really suggest that you don't rely on Facebook to do your inviting for you. Yes, we are all hooked on Facebook and on Facebook 24 hours a day, or many people are, but here's the thing, two things. Number one, a lot of people aren't. And the other thing is, I get inundated with events. I mean, I look, the other day, I looked and I had 30 pending events. We're inundated. Everybody's having an event and relying on Facebook. By getting a guest list, we talked last week about what I called guest list no-shows. So those are huge. You want to watch that. But I used to book crazy parties from my guest list no-shows, but also kind of tying into that cancellation policy. Let's say that your hostess does have an emergency, and she says, you know, I absolutely can't. You can call the first person on her guest list and be like, you know, hey, you know, Kim can't have her party. Is there any way we can just relocate to your house? You know, sometimes you can book it. I've had people say, yeah, absolutely, come to our house, we'll do it. Because if you've got 20 something people coming or 10 people coming, you don't want the whole party to cancel just because, you know, or the hostess or whatever. And I would give an additional incentive to I was trying to save that party. So I would give an additional incentive to that new-ish hostess. And because normally we put our closest friends right there on the top, right? So, you know, they were eager to help and would kind of save the party. I actually did, I had one party where my hostess was not even there. I got a frantic call. Her son had gotten hurt in football practice. It was on a Friday night. Her son had gotten hurt in football practice, and so she was going to have to take him to the ER. She literally said, the key is under the mat, come in and do it, and, you know, whatever, and save the party. And she showed up about the time we were heading to the ordering room. So, you know, but here's the thing. She was so excited about the party. She was so excited about all the free goodies, and her friends were so excited about the party because of all this hostess coaching stuff that she did not want to cancel at all. So, you know, that's that kind of excitement that you want to have. So the guest list, outside order forms, go ahead and give a bunch of these. You know, it's okay to give a bunch. If you only give one or two, then they're probably only going to fill one or two. If you give 10, then maybe they will fill 10. And I actually also gave additional incentives for outside orders. And the reason why, I got to speed up, but the reason why I did that is, again, remember, we're talking about the recruiting opportunity. I wanted to recruit every hostess that I had, because then I could give her parties and I could, like, you know, I could kind of keep going. So I would start her off with business and everything, but I gave her outside order forms, and I would say, you know, just in case anybody can't make it to the party, they can get, you know, they can still order and it goes towards your credits. But what I really wanted to do was just show her how easy it was to sell. I wanted her to see that, yeah, you can just sometimes show a catalog and tell about the products and get orders, because that's what we do. So I wanted to line up that, you know, recruiting opportunity again. Theme party details. If you do theme parties, we have tons of information of that on the site. A pre-party game, so like party squares or the hostess scavenger hunt is a fun one. Those are, you know, some of those pre-party games that helps to build the party. The party squares is going to help her build her volume, the party volume. If you live in a city or a state that doesn't allow for like a lottery type thing, if you're concerned about that, use the hostess scavenger hunt. That one was super fun. It's kind of set up like a grid, and it has all different kinds of people. So like women with a size 9 shoe, a mother of all boys, a lady with red hair, like that kind of stuff. And you try to get as many people from that list to the party as possible. So it helps to, you know, get attendance up. And then the last thing, of course, is the opportunity information. Again, you're going to be setting the pay, you know, for all of the recruiting here. So you want to make sure that they have information about the recruiting or about your business opportunity so that they can start looking at it right away. All right, now the next thing I did, and I've got a video on this, but I took, these are 2 worksheets that you can download and print off your computer, print them in black and white. Like if you don't want to do pink, doesn't matter. You can get them done at Office Depot. It's like 10 cents a piece or something if you don't want to print them from home. But what I would do is, this is Hostess Worksheet 1 and 2. And what I would do is every single time I booked a party, you got a folder. That was my Hostess folder, and this folder became yours. And I would staple Hostess Worksheet 1 to the inside left and Hostess Worksheet 2 to the inside right. And then every single thing that had to do with the party went into this folder. So I kept it all together, and you keep these safe because these are going to be worth their weight in gold. But you can see over here, I would immediately put the party information, your hostess, where it booked from. Was it a referral? Did it book from a party? Did it book from a vendor event? Was it an online lead? Whatever, so you can kind of track that, the address and the phone number. And then you can see here, these 3, there are going to be 3 calls to success for your party. So this is your 3 hostess coaching. Remember I said I was going to give you a schedule that made it much easier. These are the 3. The reason why I put it in there is because sometimes I needed to be able to hostess coach on the fly. I would be sitting in line at pickup for the kids' school or whatever, and I'm hostess coaching because I'm sitting there in a nice quiet car anyway. You know, or wherever I needed to be, you can do that while you're on the fly. And of course your notes here. And then this one is kind of the recap that you do after the party. So let's talk about these 3 calls, and I'm going to go through these quickly. Call number 1. This is, you've booked the party. So whether you met the person, you know, in an ordering room at a previous party, if you booked the party from a party or on the phone or whatever, we're kind of assuming that they already have the hostess packet. So either you've handed it to them already because you were there in person, or you've mailed it to them. So the first thing that you want to do though is confirm everything. So you know, you say, hey, I'm just making sure that we're still good for, you know, Friday, May 15th at 7 p.m. Is that looking good for you? The reason why, they may have booked the party without necessarily looking at the calendar. They've had some time now, and it should be, you make this first phone call within 3 to 5 days of the initial booking. So you want to make sure that they've received the packet if you mailed it, or you want to follow up pretty quickly if you actually handed it to them. So you want to confirm everything because they've had a couple days to talk to their best friend, talk to, you know, whomever, and make sure that that date is going to work. Sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, no, I can't, I totally can't do that. I just didn't have, you know, something written down or whatever. So you want to confirm the date and time. Go over the hostess packet. Talk about, you know, you can say about the cancellation policy, you know, this is the next one. If it comes up, say, listen, I don't want you to worry about that. I just want you to know if there's any reason why the party can't hold, just let me know as soon as you know so that we can get it rescheduled. That's all you have to say. Get her to start her wish list. This is going to help you in the ordering room. There's nothing more frustrating than, you know, spending all that time. You've done the party, you've done the games, you've done, you know, all this kind of stuff. Everybody's ordered. The excitement is there, whatever. You're ready to go. Your feet are killing you. You're exhausted. And the hostess comes in. She's like, I don't even know what I want. It used to drive me crazy. But so I put the wish list in there because from day 1, I'm going to be like, are you getting excited about all the goodies? Do you know what you're going to order with your, you know, with your hostess credits or whatever? So you want to get her excited about it from day 1, but you also want to save time in the ordering room so that you can get out of there. Then ask if she has any questions. So this is a big one because it's going to tell you a whole lot about what you can expect from the party, but also what she's going to expect. So you get questions like, is there a minimum amount of people or is there a maximum amount of people? About how long does the party go? Is it okay to serve alcohol? You know, those types of questions. Is it okay for kids to be there? You know, this, that, and the other. You want to make sure that any questions that she has, you get answered, but you have to ask if she has any questions because, you know, a lot of times you've probably been on a conversation with somebody where they're kind of leading and then you forget that you had questions because you're more interested in answering the questions than you are asking. So make sure that you ask her, do you have any questions? And then let her know when you're going to call again. So here's the thing. Generally, when I say, you know, when you're booking, you want to book parties within about 3 weeks of when you talk. So we're not booking parties for October with it being, March or whatever. We want them to be pretty close in. If you got, say, 3 weeks between your party, then you're going to say, I do all, and if you're doing the Diva Success System, you can say, I do all of my hostess coaching on Wednesdays. So you're welcome to call me any other time, but I'm going to touch base with you next Wednesday. How's that sound? Okay. If you've got 3 weeks, then you're going to call week 1, week 2, week 3. I called all of my hostesses on Wednesday evenings after church because that's what worked best for me. So, and it kind of goes with the Diva Success System being in the middle of the week. So regardless, whenever you do it, just let her know when she expects to hear from you again. All right, call number 2. If you have not received the guest list already, get the status on that. If they have to mail it, fax it, carrier pigeon, whatever, we want to make sure we get that guest list because, again, it's going to significantly cut down on the cancellations. You're going to have those guest list no-shows that you call after the party, but also you want to get those invitations in the mail. The number one reason, why parties cancel is no one can come. No one can come as hostess speak for I didn't get everybody, invited in time, or I didn't get to talk to everybody. So take the reins of your business, mail out those invitations. Plus, we've got tons of cute invitations that you can download right from our template library. And I also played a game with mine. I would put a gold star, or I used little stampers like I think Crayola still has them, the markers that have the little stamps. And I would say, I'm going to put stars on 3 people's invitations. If you can tell me who had stars on their invitations before I start the party, I'll have an extra goodie for you. The reason why I did that is because, again, I wanted to incentivize her getting that guest list so that I could get the invitations out. But I also wanted her to be in conversation, in communication with the people that she invited. So if she had to call them and she'd say, hey, are you coming to the party? And by the way, this is a really silly question, but did you happen to have stars on your invitation? Okay. It was kind of fun. It got her talking to her guests. It was something else that I could reward her for. The other reason why I really liked doing the guest list is because my invitations had information that I wanted to make sure people knew, like bringing a guest, you would get a little free gift. If you brought 2 ordering guests, you got free shipping. So I had stuff like that. I didn't want my hostess to have to remember that. So I could put it on the invitation so that when those girls received it, they would know, kind of my policies and the things that I offered. But the other thing was that when I booked parties from parties, and I said, I need your guest list, because they had already received an invitation from the party they're attending, they kind of expected, they knew that was just kind of how it does, how it goes. So get the status of the guest list. Next thing, ask how outside orders are going. And you can say, do you need any more outside order forms? That's kind of a non-pushy way of saying, how's it going? Because again, you want them to be out there for the party sales, number one, but you also want them to see how easy it is to do the business. Next thing, check on that pre-party game, party squares, scavenger hunt, set up the final call, and you can also get approximate head count. Do we know how many people we're expecting? This again is just kind of giving you that information that you need to know what you can expect about the party. And then of course this one too, which isn't on here, is to ask again if they have any questions. Here's the thing too, if you've already gotten the guest list, you need to let her know that you've already mailed stuff out or what have you. So she should kind of have an idea of who is coming. All right, call number 3. So this should be within about 24 to 48 hours before the party. So that's why I love doing it on Wednesday, because I'm going to call you on Wednesday for your party on Friday or Saturday or whatever to confirm everything. So it's, super simple, hey, it's Lindsay, just calling to make sure we are still good to go for Saturday night at 7. Yes, this is the address. This is the time, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you confirmed everything. Second thing, has she completed the party squares or the hostess scavenger hunt, so that you know whether you need to bring that goodie, also so that you kind of know what you're walking in on. Reminder how the hostess credits are tallied. If you have a minimum party order, then you can say, okay, sounds great. Well, we will, this is how your credits are going to be tallied. Once we hit, $250 or whatever, you'll start earning your credits. Just kind of go over that so that, again, there's no question at the end of the night about what she's going to earn. Next thing is to let her know when you're going to arrive. And I'm going to run over just by a few minutes on our call because I want to talk about how important this is. Whatever time you arrive, when I booked parties, I would say if we put on the invitation, we're going to start at 6, the party will actually begin around 6:30. Here's the thing. People are notoriously late, and that's perfectly fine. And you want them to come in and be relaxed and be excited and get to know you and mingle. You're going to be listening for green lights, which we'll talk about in our recruiting segment. But if you put 6 o'clock on the invitation and people start arriving at 6, 6:05, whatever, like you don't want them to have to walk in, sit down, and you start selling to them, right? So they come in at 6. You get started, between 6:30 and 7. That time frame, you can be talking, you can be mingling. If they've got, hors d'oeuvres, stuff like that, you're really kind of bonding and getting to know people all the time. Like seriously, every party was so funny because I would get there and I just walk in and, the table would already be set up when people arrive. Talk about that in a second. But, people are like, oh, who's doing the party? I'm like, oh, I am. And they were like, oh my gosh, we just thought you, worked with the hostess or something. And I'm like, well, I have been, it'd be kind of a joke, but I was one of them, and they would go, oh my gosh, you're one of us. And I'd be like, well, yeah, that's because you can do this just as good as I can. Again, recruiting. Okay. So what I did is if I said the party was going to start at 6, I would arrive about 10 minutes till 6. There was no reason for me to get there super early. It only took about 10 or 15 minutes for me to set up my table. And when people arrived at 6, I would be finishing setting up and I could then mingle. I wanted to not quite be done because, somebody always says, do you need help setting up? I want to take note of who that person is because that's a helper. Well, one of the things about recruiting, why do we get in this business? Because we want to help people. So I love the helper. And even though I never needed help, I could have done it, with my eyes closed. I always let them help because I wanted to start building that relationship. But I wanted to have the table set up so that people could come in, could see, and again, I could mingle. So I told my hostess, if we start at 6, I'll arrive about 10 or 15 minutes before 6 o'clock. Yes, there were times that my hostess came to the door with her hair still in a towel and, that kind of stuff. I didn't care. I didn't need her help. I just, needed access to the house kind of thing. But let her know when you were going to arrive. And do that based on your personal preference. I had people on my team that if the party started at 6, they didn't even arrive till 6:30 because, the party's not going to get started anyway. They want their friends to be able to come in and have a, glass of wine or, whatever and relax and have a good time with their friends. Remember, this is a party. This is an event with their girlfriends so that you want them to be relaxed and ready to have a good time when you get started. Next thing is you'll need a place to set up, see if you need a table or if she's going to provide a table, a place to take orders. I'm a big advocate for a separate ordering room, and we have an entire training on why. I think in the adult industry it's required, but I personally believe you should have it always. And I've got some training on that, but it doesn't have to be like a completely separate, section of the house or anything, but just somewhere that you can kind of section off so that you can have some one-on-one time with each new customer. And let your hostess know that you're going to need her help setting, getting people into the ordering room. We'll talk more about that in party presentation, but I would just say things like, okay, the way it'll work is, we've got 6 o'clock on the invitation, so I'll arrive about 1:15. We'll get started between 6:30 and 7. Normally my presentation is about 45 minutes long. We'll say, maybe an hour for ordering. Have you help me get people in and out of the ordering room quickly. Then you will order last. We'll tally up all of your credits. You'll order last. We will pull the winner for the party squares, and I will pack up and be on my way. Like that, there's our timeline. And I would kind of let her know, and she's like, yep, sounds perfect. But I kind of laid that foundation so that she knew that I needed help. Ask if she has any final questions. And then, if not, say, great, see you tomorrow, see you Saturday, see you, whatever. Call me if anything changes, and then you can kind of get ready to party. So again, these hostess worksheets, all those things we just went over are right here, okay? And you can just kind of, like, while you're talking, just kind of check it off as you go so that you've covered all of these. Here's any notes that you want to make to yourself, directions, stuff like that. I always ask for directions. I know we all have GPS and, on our phones and whatever. I always ask for directions because people gave landmarks, like, it's go to this store and turn right, or go to the stoplight and turn left, or whatever. Sometimes it was easier for me to go landmarks than it was, just normal directions. Excuse me. And then at the end, This hostess worksheet 2 was where I totaled everything up. So how many guests were there? What were the total party sales? Were there outside orders, party squares, hostess credits earned, incentives earned? Those were, in addition to, so if she, got me the guest list early or whatever, I had some little extra things in there, and that was kind of for taxes. I wanted to be able to write off if you needed to mail hostess packets or group packets. And then the last one is to put a thank you note to the hostess. So that's big. Don't forget that. I would get the big oversized postcards from Vistaprint, and it just had a real pretty, it said thank you, excuse me, it had like candles and flowers and that kind of stuff, and it said thank you, and it put for being a great hostess. I had the stamps already on them. I kept them in the console of my car, and either from their driveway or my driveway, whatever, I would scribble out, a heartfelt thank you, and I would try to relay something from the party. So, thank you for letting me be a part of, your fun girls' night in, if it's a bridal shower or if it's a birthday party, or, but it can even be something as simple as, those brownies were delicious, or, whatever. I tried to personalize it to the party, but I would put it in my mailbox before I walked out the door so that it would go out the next day, so that she would receive it, just a day or two afterwards, to again say thank you for her having that party. So that's, a super important part, that, kind of the gratitude and whatever that ties into our Diva Success system of sending a note in the mail every day also. So that is hostess coaching in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions? Does that help, kind of give you an actual schedule for how to, what happens with the hostess coaching is that you're staying in good communication with your hostess, number one. You're laying the foundation for not only a great party, but for that recruiting. And when you do great hostess coaching, they're excited, they have a super successful party, you make money, you get bookings, you get, possibly a new recruit, and you're treating them how it was. Like they sign up and they book their first party, and because you've been so great hostess coaching them, they now know how to hostess coach their people as well, and it kind of all moves forward. So